so I'm sitting really close to the camera right now so that I can show you something. Watch this. Just wait for it. Do you see the sun flash? It's been like this all morning. I have the blinds closed. I have all the other lights turned off. Flash face. This is what I get for putting on makeup. I have, like, every girlfriend I have is a makeup hound. I never, ever wear makeup. Big reason is because I'm lazy. Second reason is, in my family, we have these what are called hooded eyelids. See? And when I get older, see, it does this Cruella de Vil thing right here on them. This one's much worse than this one. But anyway, as we age, they droop a little bit. Oh, see, there it is. It makes me look like I'm arching my eyebrow when I'm not really. I just have my eyes open. So annoying. Anyway, when you put on eye makeup, you can see this a lot better than you can when I don't have eye makeup on, and it has always really bugged me. It makes me look angry. In addition to which, I just think makeup makes me look harder, you know? It makes me look like some woman at a dive bar that's been smoking too much. No. But anyway, in order to show my girlfriends that I do listen to them, I do value their opinion, and I do love them even though the sun is trying to kill me, I decided to put on makeup for you people today. I don't know how it's working, especially since I got this guy that decided to show up. This is going to be fun. Let's answer your questions. I'm going to start with the questions that were directed specifically at me. Now, in this video, because I'm noticing this and it's going to look weird, it looks like I'm looking over to the side. It's because the way I have the screen set up, this box that you're looking at is usually right in the middle of my screen. But for this, I've put it off to the side so I can see my questions. My questions are over here in a window behind this one. So just pretend that you're sitting over there and that I'm looking at you. Okay. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is my favorite question ever. These are all directed at me personally and don't necessarily have anything to do with reusables. From Lucy Murray, who asked me, "How are you?" That is such a good question. I don't think I've ever seen anybody ask that question on one of these. I'm doing great, thank you. Last week we were sick, and we had been sick for like 2.5 weeks, Lizzie and I. It was awful. It was so awful. I felt like my head weighed 20 pounds, but we're finally starting to get back to normal now. So thank you for asking. Another one that was really fun was, do I have any nicknames? Yes, when I was a little girl, we lived in the middle of nowhere in rural Arkansas. Rural, that's a really hard word to say. Rural Arkansas. And by that I mean my family had 84 acres of really undeveloped farmland in a county, no kidding, called Izard County, I-Z-A-R-D, Izard County in northern Arkansas. And if you look at a map, you can see where that is. Okay, you can see this has a map of Arkansas there, and the red is Izard County. And then I marked where we lived on this one. And so I rode a bus for about a half an hour or more to school every morning. And when I started kindergarten, my mother had to drive me up to the next farm because the bus only came so far out. And so their last stop was at this farmhouse, the Green family. Their last name was Green. And that's where I had to catch the bus, was at their house because ours was too far out. So they had 2 teenage boys, the Green boys, and I don't remember their first names anymore. And then their sister was my babysitter after school. Anyway, they called me Popcorn because I talk too much and I babble. And when I was a little kid, I was very bouncy, as little kids are wont to be. And so they called me Popcorn. And that one stuck for a little while. And then I got my lifelong nickname in the 5th grade. Brian Krug gave it to me, and Tommy John Foley gave it to me. We had this test in science class, and everybody, even the straight A students, made like C's on it. And me being a completely tone-deaf 5th grader, I made a 97. I missed one question. And the question that I missed on this test was, I still remember this. I'm 40 years old, and I still remember this. because of the events of the day. But I missed one question, and it was one of those multiple choice where you circle the letter, and I circled the wrong one. I had known the correct answer, but I circled the wrong answer because I wasn't paying attention. And so I would have had a 100%. I had a 97% on this test. And so I was like stomping around and being a little tone deaf jerk about being upset with myself over this. And so they started calling me whiner that day. And it stuck. And you know, they were frustrated with me. These boys were frustrated with me that day. But I went to a very small school and back then, and so, you know, we all knew each other. We all got along pretty well. And as time passed, it became more of like a sisterly name of endearment. And so I was whiner. And that one stuck for the rest of my life. I'm the whiner. Let's see. Let's go through these. Oh, someone asked, she said she was considering a bloodhound puppy, and did I have any advice on the breed? I have never owned a bloodhound. I'm going to move this to the center because I can't stand it. I've never owned a bloodhound. Cadence is a coonhound. She's a red-bone coonhound, which is a scent hound breed that was developed to hunt raccoons. They're also used for bear hunting. They're also used for wildcat hunting, which I don't approve of. The only way I approve of a wildcat hunt was if they were... I'm going to interrupt myself here to just show you this picture of Cadence. She is not nearly as wrinkly as a bloodhound, but she is often mistaken for one because they have similar coloration, and of course they have the houndy features, but this is my baby dog. Isn't she cute? Legitimately hunting down a sick cat or something that they needed to tranquilize or whatever. There's not a big enough wildcat population that I'm aware of anywhere in the United States that they need to be using dogs to go hunt them. I don't like that. Also, I don't like putting dogs in danger like that. It's like, you know, you see people using dogs to hunt wild boar. Why would you put a dog up against a wild boar? Do you know what a wild boar can do to a dog? Oh, no. Anyway, I'm not anti-hunting. Despite the fact that I'm a vegan, I am not anti-hunting, and I'll get into that because there were some questions about that too. Oh, just scratch my head like a monkey. Pick lice. Did you see my grays? Aren't they beauteous? That's how lazy I've been about getting my hair colored. Anyway, I lost my place. Oh, so basically any form of game that the dog needs to put up into a tree, that's what coonhounds are bred for. But the personality of scent hounds is what we like. We've fostered basset hounds and beagle mixes in the past, and our first dog as a married couple was a beagle. Kyoko the Wonder Beagle. She is no longer with. This is Kyoko-san, the Wonder Beagle, with Lizzie. These were taken when we lived in Japan, I think in 2009 or 2010, I can't remember. But this is her, my lovely beagle. Us. But we loved her. She was a fantastic companion, and after she was gone, I couldn't have another dog for a while. And the reason we got a coonhound is because their little personalities are just so gentle, and so they're Velcro dogs, really. They love their people. And because they're scent hounds and we're already familiar with the scent hound personality, we went ahead and got her because I couldn't have another beagle just yet. I wasn't ready. Because beagles all look so much alike, and I was worried that if we got another beagle, because I loved Kyoko-san so much, that I was worried that I wouldn't love the new beagle, which was ridiculous. Of course I would have loved the new beagle. But anyway, so we have Cadence the coonhound. The key thing with any scent hound, I've not ever owned or fostered a bloodhound in particular, but there are things about the scent hound group of dogs. Anybody who says that you need to train your bloodhound not to steal food or not to counter-surf, that isn't going to work. With other kinds of dogs, you can do that. But scent hounds, the nose is absolutely everything. And they can't help it. They literally cannot stop themselves. It's not a choice that they make. And I think a lot of dog people who've raised, retrievers or terriers or what have you, they've been able to train their dogs that We don't want you to get in the garbage. We don't want you to get on the countertops. We don't want you to steal food. If someone puts down a plate of food, goes to the bathroom, and then returns, they expect their food to still be there. If you have a scent hound in your home and you choose to bring a scent hound into your family, you need to understand that you have to train the people. The dog is not capable of not investigating the food. It's different with the scent hound class of dogs. So if you get a scent hound, release any and all idea you have that you're going to train your dog not to steal bread off the counter. That isn't going to happen unless you have a rare individual. But scent hounds are amazing. They don't respond to being fussed at. What they respond to is food. So any training that you do with a bloodhound should be food related, because you're going to have a highly food motivated dog there. And I guess that's the advice that I have for you about a bloodhound. And also, enjoy your scent hound. They are the most wonderful dogs. I love all dogs, but scent hounds are my favorite. And Cadence the Red-Bone Coonhound is the sweetest animal I have ever had a personal relationship with. She is so sweet. Okay, let's move on. Okay, there are so many of these. I was going to put them in a logical order, but I think what I'm going to try to do is just go through them in the order that they came in and try to just answer some of them rapid fire. When you first heard about Rump's reusable menstrual products, what was your initial thought? The first time I heard about them, I thought she was kidding. And then when I realized she was serious, I had the typical, that's disgusting, you're gross kind of thought. I didn't say that. I would never have said that to her. I never thought she was gross. I thought she was lovely. But I couldn't, the idea was repulsive to me in the very first moments, but I was extraordinarily curious. And after that first time, I went and I read a bunch of stuff about them, and I wasn't ready back then. But I came to it several years later. And obviously I don't think that now. What are the other things I like to sew? And let's see, do I have any other sewing projects you want to do in the future? Oh, Liz, I'm so sorry I cut your question off, so there was a second part to that question. But yes, I like to sew other things, and I'll clip over to some pictures when I post this. I'm learning to quilt, and I just, I'm almost finished. I'm putting the border on right now to my first twin size quilt that I made with my daughter. It was just the Jelly Roll Race style quilt, so I'll show you a picture of that. I thought I had a picture of this with the borders added that I've done, but I guess not. And I also like to do zipper pouches that I learned how to do off of the Missouri Star Quilt Company vlog that they have on YouTube. And I have a picture of one of those. This was the first time I ever put a zipper on anything. I was so proud of myself. And so, and I've made some aprons, I've made some tissue books, I've made a couple other things. Yeah, I'm interested in sewing everything, really. Okay, I tossed some pictures in. This is a pin cushion I made. And this is the Halloween apron I made for Lizzie B. These are some cup pouches I made by using my Skoon cup pouch as a template. This is a tissue book that you can use instead of pocket tissues. And a coaster I made from encased elastic waistbands. What are my favorite teas? I like hot tea. I am Southern, so I do like iced tea. In the American South, we call it the house wine of the South. You drink sweet tea, which is black tea brewed and poured over ice. And generally before you pour it over ice, you put a ridiculous metric ton of sugar into it. And when I was a child, that was pretty much all I ever wanted to drink was sweet tea. Now that I'm grown, though, I don't like sweet things as much anymore, so I like my iced tea unsweetened, but I do love unsweetened iced tea. Just regular Lipton black tea. But my favorite teas are Earl Grey. I even like iced Earl Grey. I also like it hot. I like, and of course, the one that I showed you, the Yogi Bedtime Tea in one of my videos, I really do love that stuff. It is so good. And even though it doesn't help me sleep, I drink it at bedtime on a regular basis. Okay, at what age did I have my first period? I was 14. And then I was asked, what is my most embarrassing period story? I honestly don't have one. I have never had a traumatic experience with it. I've never had a public embarrassment issue. I've never had, I really can't think of one. And I really did put thought into that. It's like, surely I have, you know? I mean, maybe I just need to think about it some more or whatever, but no, I really don't. I've been very fortunate in that way. The most uncomfortable story I guess I would have relating to all of that is that my first one, my parents divorced when I was very young, so I was not in my custodial home. I was in my non-custodial parents' home when that happened. And I didn't have anything. And I was alone. My parents were out doing something for like an hour or so. So when it happened the first time, I was alone in the house. And it wasn't in the house that I was most comfortable in. So that was a little awkward and uncomfortable. But no, I don't really have any. I'm sorry, I don't have a funny story for you. I would tell you if I did, but I don't. What would you tell a young mother about incontinence or mild incontinence during pregnancy and after childbirth? Number one, you're not alone. So many people are out there that are dealing with this, but we don't talk about it because urine is gross. Just do what you got to do to keep yourself dry and keep yourself clean, and know that this is absolutely common. More women have it than don't during pregnancy. More women have it than don't for several months after delivery. However, if a year later, or don't wait that long, if, you know, after the 6 weeks when you go in for your checkup, you're still having incontinence issues, speak to your doctor, because there are physical therapies that help tremendously, and they'll check you for any medical problems that are correctable. Did I cloth diaper Elizabeth? No, I didn't. She came along before I was cloth conscious at all, and I was so gagged out and horrified by the prospect of changing diapers that honestly cloth diapering never occurred to me. I would never have considered it at that time. If I were to have a new one, I definitely would. But back then, I was not in that place. Nope, I used disposables. What are my favorite things to do? And this question was asked in several different ways. What are my favorite things to do to make myself feel better when I'm dealing with my periods? I drink a lot of tea. I lie flat on the couch a lot because I have back problems anyway. And even though I don't have severe menstrual cramps, I've been very fortunate that way. I've never had that as a bad problem. I just, it makes my back problems flare up every time. And so I lay down and watch a lot of romantic comedies, or I sit and sew. Or, you know, one of the things since I started this channel, a lot of the talking videos I do, I come up here and I do all the videos that I can do where I just sit in the chair and talk to people, because it's something that I can do with my day that's not stressful or physically demanding. Basically, I just laze around and I wear really loose clothing and I drink a lot of hot tea and I don't think about what I'm eating. I eat whatever I want. Let's see. Do I track my cycle? Yes, I use an app, and I've used several different ones. I don't have a favorite yet, really. I haven't found the one that I like the most. And then the other question that I got with this was, it was related, so I put it here. It was like, other than for fertility tracking, why would women track their cycle? I started tracking my cycle after I switched to cloth because my cycle was always extraordinarily irregular. And it started to regulate itself. So I started clocking it because I wanted to see if it was just my imagination or if it really had regulated, and it has. I have mentioned living in Honduras, Ireland, and various other places, and so she asked that I comment on that. As I've made clear, I'm from Arkansas. I was born in Arkansas. I lived in Arkansas until I was 15, and most of my family still lives in Arkansas. And so it was and always will be home. We left Arkansas when I was 15 because my stepdad got a job in St. Louis, so I lived in St. Louis for a period of time until adulthood. And then my first choice leaving home in adulthood was Colorado, and that's where I met my husband. I love this picture. This is my husband, Ashley, and he's holding Cadence. I thought this was a good photo for a size reference on a young adult coonhound. And there's my pumpkin, my husband, Ashley. And he and I got married, and then he's a Marine, a United States Marine, and so his career has taken us all over the bloody place. So we've lived in several states after that here in the United States. And then our first foreign post was Okinawa, Japan, and we lived there for 3 years. And then he got on a diplomatic, I guess, station assignment post. And he was a detachment commander at embassies for a while, and we lived in Ireland and Honduras through that. So that's that. I could talk forever about that, but we're already getting long, and I haven't. This is just one category, so I got to keep going. But yes, I think it's really important that if you have an opportunity to live outside and not visit, because it's different. Traveling to visit places, I've traveled to lots of different countries. I've seen a lot of different countries, but what really gives you perspective is to live outside of the country, and that's not possible for everyone. I understand. I mean, we had an extraordinary and unique set of circumstances that allowed us to do the things that we have done, and I'm really grateful for them. But it's also hard. There's a lot of sacrifice involved with moving out of your own home country and so far away from your family. But there's a perspective that you only get if you live there. It's very different to stay in a hotel and visit the sites and then go home than it is to live there, shop there, work there, interact in society as a member of that society. It's very different, and I think too few Americans get to do it because of our geographical separation from the other developed parts of the world, other than Canada. Hi Canadians, we really do love you, even though I see so many nasty things about the United States in Canadian media. I'm just saying that's where the Canadian jokes come from. But we love you. It's like a brother-sister relationship. I think Canadians are awesome. I think Canada's beautiful. We really do. North American family, we gotta stick together. Let's see. There's another one about that. Oh, about being vegan. When did I become vegan? Why am I vegan? How does that work? Got several questions about that. I became vegan in 2009. It has a lot to do with my political opinions. I am a political libertarian. For those of you who don't know what it means, well, I encourage you to Google it. I don't want to get into that because I would talk too much about that. I'm a libertarian. I'm a constitutionalist. So basically, in America, the right thinks I'm a lefty liberal, and the lefty liberals think that I'm a Nazi on the right. So we're kind of in the middle. It's all about small government and individual rights to me. Okay, so I became a vegan because the food industry in America, the commercial food industry in the United States, again, this is like a whole other blog. This is a whole other thing. But in short, I find the food system corrupt. I find it damaging and immoral, both to the animals and to the human workers in that system, and to the farmers. There's a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. We're talking billions of dollars trading hands in very corrupt and underhand, under the table kind of ways. There's so many problems with it, and I didn't want to participate in that system anymore. And I figured that the best way I could get out of that system was by ceasing with the dairy and the meat products. So I'm not a vegan because I have a problem with people eating meat. I don't have a problem with meat. In fact, as I said before, I'm not anti-hunting. I have venison in the freezer that my husband obtained through hunting season last year in Arkansas when we went home. But I'm very particular about how meat is obtained if you're going to use it. And I'm very particular about how eggs are obtained and how the dairy cows are kept and whether their calves are taken away from them or whatever. So it's long and it's complex, and I have complex set of views on that. But I'm not a purist vegan, as it were. But vegan is the word that people understand. That's how to explain what I do. I don't eat commercial animal products whenever I can possibly help it. My daughter and my husband are not vegan, so. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Let's see. How stinking excited were you to wear your first DIY pad? I was so excited to wear the first pad I ever sewed. I was so proud of that thing. I did it. I turned on my machine and I put stuff in there and out came what I was trying to make. I was super excited. And they've all gotten successively better from there. If I was stranded on an island, which of my favorite pads and cups would I miss the most and why? Well, if I was stranded on an island, I'm assuming that I would have at least one because I wear one every day. But my favorite cups and pads, my favorite cup is the Scoon cup. And so I would miss that one the most because that one I can wear every day of my cycle comfortably. And my favorite pads, my Eeyore Annie Belle's pad and my little fairy boy overnight pad that I made. Those are my two favorites. Which do you prefer and why, cups or pads? I prefer pads. I wouldn't wear a cup at all, except that I need both because of the heaviness. So if I didn't have to wear anything internally, I would just wear cloth pads. Now, before I switched to reusables, that was the opposite. I would never have worn pads if I could have avoided it. I always thought they were uncomfortable. I don't like being confronted with that. It's just, the whole thing was nasty. But with cloth pads, it's such a different experience in every way. I prefer pads now. Who or what gave you the thought of switching? You can watch my Come to Cloth videos. It's a two-parter. And that was my friend Billy Joe when we were living in Okinawa. And she's the one who introduced me to it. And then later when I actually did make the switch to cloth, it was her again on Facebook. We were talking about some things and she brought it up again and I listened the second time. What got me involved in quilting? Well, I made a patchwork pad and I love quilts anyway. And so it was just a logical progression. I wanted to mix two fabrics together, so I chopped them up into squares and made one for a pad topper. And then I started watching YouTube videos about quilting, and that was all she wrote. I just love it. Would I be willing to branch off and make some quilting videos? I don't know. I don't know. If I ever get good enough that I feel like I have something to say about it, I sure would. How does it feel to have helped so many women with your videos? Well, that hasn't really sunk in yet. I don't know. Obviously it feels good. That's the whole point. And so it makes me smile every time I have somebody specifically say, oh, look, I made this and I couldn't have made it without this tutorial or this video or whatever. And I love that. It's fantastic. That's why I'm doing this. Have I tried sea sponge tampons? No, I haven't. And I don't want to be the person who says something negative about it, but the reason I don't is that I have a thing with stuff that comes out of the sea. It's partly irrational and it's partly not. There's just, to me, even though I know they're completely clean, they're completely wonderful, and I'm so glad that that is an option for people who want to use it. They skeeve me out. I can't do it. Would I ever go to my OBGYN and ask them about allowing me to give classes or a Q&A on reusables? No, because I'm in the military healthcare system, and trust me, they wouldn't, and it's not worth my time to go up there and ask. If I had a civilian doctor and I felt like he or she was open to it, sure, I'd bring it up. Oh, how long have I been bicycling, and why did I choose this specific sport, and what benefits have I been getting from it? I have lower back problems. I have degenerative disc disease in my lower lumbar spine. So I can't run anymore. When I was a younger girl, I used to run. I hated it, but I did it. And I can't do that anymore. Physically cannot. So a bicycle was a logical choice. I got a bicycle shortly after Christmas this year. I used to use the elliptical machines and everything, but I really wanted to go outside and go outside. And my daughter loves riding her bicycle, and so it's something that we do together. So the benefits are I get a lot of really good one-on-one time with my kid, and I get sunshine, which is nice. And it's just a good way to get out and get a little bit of cardiovascular every day. And I just really enjoy it. I'm not in it to be, you know, like some grand cyclist or compete or anything like that. It's just a way to go outside and get some exercise and be in the outdoors. Let's see. What camera and video software do I use? I use the camera that's just the in-house on my iMac. And I use the iMovie editor. Oh, and I also use the photo booth camera interfacey thingy. So it's all Apple all the time because that's what I've got on the computer. So that's what I use. And occasionally I use my iPhone, my iPhone camera. I have an iPhone 5C. Which 3 things would I tell my 18-year-old self? I would say slow down. Don't be in a hurry. Be young as long as you can until you need to be responsible. And that's when you can grow up. That's when you can make adult plans. Slow down. That's number 1. Number 2, don't marry that guy. And number 3, let's see. Goodness. I don't know. I have so much more wisdom now than I did when I was 18. I don't know. What would I tell myself back then? Just, it gets better. It gets better. It gets easier. Life gets better. Life gets easier. Everybody always talks about how, you know, your youth is the best time in your life, and I have not found that to be true. And most people my age also find being in your late teens and early 20s, it's an extremely stressful, tumultuous, confusing time for even the best of us who've been set up with the best circumstances. Yeah, you have a lot of fun. I mean, it's not like you're miserable all the time, but there are all these, you don't know what you want to be. You don't know what your possibilities are. You don't know what your limits are. And you're going to make so many mistakes in that period of time. So, you know, a lot of times people get down on themselves in their early 20s. So yeah, I mean, you know, we look good and we're in great physical shape at that time in our lives, but things are confusing. And I think we know ourselves a lot better when we get a little older. So I think I would say it gets better. So just wait. Hang in there. Have you made any other cloth changes in your life? Yeah, we use cloth towels a lot more than we use paper towels now. We use cloth napkins a lot, and I make tissue books for wiping fingers, wiping things off in the car, nose blowing emergencies, that sort of thing. So instead of carrying tissue around in my purse, I carry around this little book of flannel pages that we use instead. Who is my favorite reusable menstrual product related YouTuber? Graveyard Girl. Bunny. Oh, you gotta check her out. She's hilarious. I love her. And I also like the Missouri Star Quilt Company. That lady is, oh, she's just so cute. And I love their quilting tutorials. And finally, do I watch television, and what are your favorite shows? Yes, I watch television. I love Turn on AMC, which is about the American Revolution. It's about the first, government-sponsored spy ring. And then I really love The Walking Dead. I know, it's so trite, but I do. Gosh, what else? I like The Good Wife. Oh, I like too many things to list. I really do. I like Major Crimes because it's from The Closer. Gosh, what else do I watch? I watch Game of Thrones. I watch Outlander. I watch lots of TV shows. That's what I do when I stay up until the middle of the night. So I'm watching TV. So let's get into the history questions. Excuse me, like what did I major in college? I majored in history. And lots of people ask me, okay, so is there any particular period? Yeah. My interests, I'll just talk about history. My particular interests is in the history of communism in the United States, which not very many people are interested in, but I am not pro-communism. The reason I got into studying communism is because I don't understand it. I don't understand why anybody would think that that's a good way to go, or that that's compatible with human nature. So, and certainly not with governing humans. So I started to read about it, because when I don't understand something, I want to study it. And so I just had this natural curiosity about communism and how it's been practiced all over the world. So I've studied, those things too. But my primary interest now in continuing research is the history of communism in the United States. Mostly right now what I'm focused on is the period between Reconstruction, which for those outside of the United States, that's the period in our history after the Civil War. So we're talking about like the 1870s and the 1880s. And then the progressive era in the 1890s and the first decade of the 20th century, and the eugenics movement that came out of that. And so I'm studying the communism that was underlaid in that time period right now. But from beginning to end, and I mean from, the Aboriginal tribes here in America all the way through, communism has varied forms, and so that's my focus. Have I published works, or do I plan to publish in the future? I have not published anything yet. Let's see. Oh, and since I am a history buff, have I ever traced mine or my husband's family tree? Yes. Yes, I have. My husband's family tree is a bit of a dead end right now, and that's a little frustrating, because I really want, especially for Elizabeth, because she seems to be interested in it too, I'm trying to study that family. I have several branches of my family back pretty darn far with documentation, and right now I'm working on my father's family tree. I've hit a roadblock in the 1700s where there's two gentlemen in the records, and I don't know which one is mine. So that's where I love genealogy. Love it. In fact, now that we're in North Carolina, one of my favorite things about being in North Carolina is that some of those 18th century ancestors that I had in America were here in this state, and they were a couple of counties over. But finding 18th century graves is just a nightmare. So that's what I'm working on with that. Oh, and then somebody asked me about historical fiction. No, I have no interest in writing historical fiction. I like reading historical fiction, but no, I'm really boring, dry, academic writing. The one thing that I am working on right now, the thing that I write a little every day on right now, is a book aimed at children between the ages of like 10 and 15 of American history. And right now I'm writing about the glacial. Anyway, so all the way back, like from the very, very beginning, like, from the time we broke off from Pangea, I've started from the beginning there. And I'm talking about the land that would one day become the United States. So basically, I'm looking at North America right now. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm working on. Let's see. And I think that's all the history questions. So then let's go into questions about my daughter and my husband. There's quite a few this time about them. Let's see. How old was my daughter when I first told her about menstruation and puberty and all of those things? I honestly don't know when that conversation began. I don't remember when she first started asking questions, but my policy up until she was in about the 3rd grade was, when she asked me a question, I would answer the question and only that question. I didn't I didn't expand on it. I didn't go further. I would just answer what it was that she was curious about. When she asked me as like a 2 or 3 year old, how do you make a baby, or where do you get babies? Because we used to joke with her about taking her back to the baby store. And she would say, I think the question was, where do you buy babies? Because she wanted us to have another baby, so she wanted us to go to the store and get another baby. So she asked me where babies come from, and I said, no, the mommy and the daddy make a baby. That was the first of those answers, but then it progressed from there. And whenever she asked me something, I would tell her. When she got to be in about it was the 4th grade. No, it wasn't the third grade. It was the fourth grade. When she got into the fourth grade, I started being much more clinical with her. And then I started to add information. And whereas I didn't explain, what a period looked like or what it was going to be like, I told her that girls have it, and I explained how it was a function of preparing the woman's body to make a baby, and that, if the woman didn't make a baby during that 30-day period, that, it would all come out, and that was a period, and then the body would start over. So, I would try to think of a way that I could explain these things to her in an age-appropriate way. And then, it was the fourth grade. Fourth grade, the school was going to do a video, and I decided I'm not going to let the school tell her, I'm going to tell her. And so I got the nice little, they're really effective little cartoon anatomy charts of the female reproductive system and of the male reproductive system. And we talked about bodies. We talked about all the things that were going to happen to her body. We had a really thorough discussion. And again, what I did was I gave her the basic information that I wanted her to have. And then when I was done, she had a few questions and I answered those. And she was horrified by the entire concept of sex, which I think is pretty age appropriate. I was horrified when I first learned about it. And then she asked me the typical question, which is, did you and Daddy do that? I was like, yep. And that was the only answer I gave to that. So, the key is just make it age appropriate. But I would encourage children feel safe coming to you. People, when their kids are teenagers, they're like, oh, you can come to me with anything. Well, if that wasn't true when she was 8, if it wasn't true when she was 10, if it wasn't true when she was 12, she's not going to believe you that it's true when she's 15 or 16 or whatever. She's not going to come to you for that information if you have not always been the source of that information. So, we have all of these ideas about when we think our kids are going to be ready, but I think our children tell us when they're ready if we're listening. That's my personal opinion. I always hesitate to answer these questions because it's going to run the risk of sounding like I'm telling you how to parent your child. I would never do that. You're the parent, your kid, you do it your way. But my perspective on it is that you should always tell the truth. You should be the agent of truth. You should be the one that your kid knows. If they hear some nasty little kid at school say something, that they can come to you and they can ask, is that really what that means? Or what does that mean? If they say something vulgar to her in school. Because there are going to be people who say things to your kids or around your kids. And if you have been the one who has satisfied their curiosity on these things before, they're going to feel comfortable coming to you. So that was the policy I went with. I answered every question truthfully. I never told her any made-up fairy stories. I didn't give her trite answers. We are a somewhat religious family. We have a religious faith, and I would I would incorporate our beliefs where those overlapped, and I would explain to her how we feel about God's relationship to these topics. But I didn't just say that. I also gave her the biological information because they know there's more to it. Children are little people. They know that there's more to it and that you're just not telling them. And so rather than allowing it to become mysterious, I wanted to make sure that I had the answers for her. So that's how I did it. And it's, people asking, does she plan on using cloth? Yes, she does. And the reason she plans on using cloth is because she saw the disposables when I was using them, and they were always toilet paper looking things that I would throw away, and that I would shoo her out of the bathroom if I needed to deal with those. And then with cloth, she sees that I enjoy them. She sees that they're pretty. She loves playing with fabric, and she thinks it's awesome. And she's seen me cleaning mine. She knows what's involved in that process, and it doesn't bother her at all. So yes, she does. And she is curious about cups, and I intend to get her one and then let her do what she wants to do. And I know that if she has trouble or if she has questions, she'll come to me about it, because she always has in the past. And she does now. She'll ask me questions. So let's see. And what is the biggest point you would like to get across to your daughter when it comes to periods? And then there were questions about how I'm going to teach her to deal with negative comments. I don't need to teach her how to deal with negative comments. Her little personality, she's not shy. She doesn't get cowed by things like that. she will stick up for herself, and she does not need my interference in that, which I'm grateful for, because I wasn't like that. When I was her age, I was not nearly as confident as she is. So I've been very fortunate in that I happen to have a confident child. It's just she was born that way, and I was not like that when I was her age. So, but I don't need to teach her how to handle the negative comments. She'll handle it. And if I get a phone call from a teacher, then I'll go down and deal with it. But or if she wants me to handle it, I will. But no, for the most part, I'm pretty sure that if somebody says something to her about it, she'll get back in their face with it. So she does a better job of telling people that they're wrong about cloth than I do. You should hear some of the things that she says when I'm trying to type a considered and diplomatic response to a question about whether they're dirty or whether they're clean or whatever. She'll sit over my shoulder and she'll be watching what I'm typing, and she gets all upset about it. So she's fine. Am I going to teach her how to sew the patterns? Yeah, if she wants to, I will let her go. Let's see. What are my thoughts on first moon parties? Will my daughter have one? No, I think those are silly. Again, I'm not demonstrative about cutesy things like that. If she asked me for one, or if she wanted to make a big deal out of her first period, I would let her. I wouldn't say no, but personally, I think it's stupid. I think that is just dumb, but that's just me. Again, so would I? No, I'm not going to give her one. No. Let's see, what else is about Lizzie? I'm trying to read all of these because there's so many that are duplicates, and I didn't do a very good job of organizing this. How did my husband respond? How does my husband feel about all of this? My husband he's my best friend. He's my buddy. He is my favorite person on the planet. And so I told him about every part of this, every step of the way. He, of course, witnessed all of the pain and the embarrassment that I was dealing with the skin problems that I was having when I was using disposables. He was more upset about it than I was, I think. He didn't like that at all. He thought that was horrible. And so when I found this as a possible alternative, he was all about it. And when I discovered cups, he was all about it. And in fact, when I found a cup, when I got my Skoon cup in it, and it worked so well for me, he was like, okay, you need to buy another one so that you can keep another one so you're always covered. Bless his heart, I don't think he understood that you don't need more than one. One is good. But he was like, you need to get another one of those so that you have two. You need a backup. And I don't think that this was the joke that he and I were talking about, because I asked him, I said, how should I answer this question that people are asking? And he said, well, you should tell them that, you know, I'm proud of everything that you do. And he's not being silly. I mean, he really is. I don't deserve him. I really don't. Anyway, he's good with it. He doesn't have any issues or any juvenile teenage boy crap about periods being gross or whatever. You know, he's a grown-ass man. So no, he does not have any problems with it. And quite frankly, some of the things that I've read about the way that some people's husbands respond to a woman dealing with her own period, I don't understand how a grown adult man who's lived in a house with a woman who menstruates and who has had children with her, I don't understand what in the heck. I'm sure they're decent people. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to rag on anybody's husband, but really, some of the cruelty that I've heard, honestly, it's just cruelty. They shame their wives, and they don't want their laundry done. If my husband had ever said something to me like, oh, you're not washing those with my laundry, I'd be like, okay, then you're washing your laundry at the laundromat, because I'm using the washing machine in this house to wash it. And if you don't like that, then go buy another washing machine and wash your own laundry in the garage, or you take care of it somewhere else, because how dare you? That would be my response to that. So I don't really understand I don't understand how that dynamic takes place. And I'm very, very sad that it does. I'm extraordinarily disappointed in men in the year 2015 who would treat their wives that way. But my husband has not. He's totally cool with it. I don't think that he would appreciate having a sink full of them soaking when he went in there to try to brush his teeth. So, you know, obviously I'm respectful about the shared space. And even though we're very open about what I do, it is a personal, private thing that involves body fluids, and it needs to be hygienic, and it needs to be, you know, I'm a grown-up about it, and so is he. That's basically how it is. And I respect his space, and he respects that I'm going to handle my feminine hygiene the way I want to handle my feminine hygiene. And as long as I'm not being blatantly disrespectful to him and his use of our shared space, then he doesn't care. In fact, he's thrilled about it because it's made such a difference. Let's see if there are any other ones in here that I needed to answer. Oh, the biggest point I wanted to get across to my daughter when it comes to periods, that one, is that, you know, this is the process by which biologically our bodies are able to accomplish the miracle of creating a life inside and you know, incubating a life. And there's nothing dirty about it. There's nothing shameful about it. And if anybody ever tries to shame her about it, if anybody ever tries to make her feel dirty about it, then she comes to me and we'll deal with it. That's the big point. And then, of course, the other one that I'm going to, as soon as we're dealing with that on a monthly basis with her, is personal cleanliness, because she's 11 and I still have to make her take a shower and she still, you know, will kind of rebel against having to go and brush tangles out and brush teeth and that sort of thing. So when she begins to have this, obviously that takes the need for fastidiousness and personal hygiene up to another level. So that's the other point that I'm going to bring across to her. I'm probably going to give her some kind of a video about, you know, bacteria and germs and bloodborne issues and that sort of thing. It's like we don't leave blood laying around, and we don't, you know. So personal cleanliness and not to be ashamed of the process. So those are the two things. I think that about covers it. Oh, and how does my family feel about my having a YouTube channel? This is the last one. I talked to my husband about it before I did it, and he said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" He said, "Because you realize that people who don't know you are going to be looking at you and talking about you and all of that." And I was like, "Yeah, but I won't see it or hear it, so it's okay." And that was his only concern, is that it would make me uncomfortable. But no, he thinks it's really cool. He actually watches my videos. So, no, he's good. And my daughter thinks it's the coolest thing ever. She tells people at school how many subscribers I have. So, yeah, it's all good. And as far as extended family and friends, there are other questions, and so those will be in the other video, because that has, my answers to those questions kind of overlap with the questions people have about how should they talk to their family and how should they talk to their friends. And so I'll put that in the other video. So this sucker is going to be, I'm looking at the timer here in the previous ones, this is going to be close to an hour with just the personal stuff about me. So then I anticipate that the other one will be similar. Okay, so I think that's it. Anyway, thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for bringing us to 500 subscribers. I'm dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded. Thank you so much. And so the informational Q&A I'll probably do tomorrow. Thanks, bye.